what's up with it, guys? I am Rich. I'm with Freedom Radio today. I got nephew sitting down with our special guest right now, Charles. What's up with it, Charles?
Glad to be here. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here, man. All right, hey Charles, man, I'm gonna start it off like this right here, man. I want you to introduce yourself to our guest, man.
All right, my name is Charles. I've been living here in Nebraska since 1990. Moved here from Los Angeles, California, where I was born and raised. Crenshaw High graduate.
Wait a minute, you said you're from California?
Yes, California, Los Angeles.
Crenshaw.
South Central LA.
Yeah.
Okay. You're real.
Rough part, huh?
Oh yeah, a little
rough?
A little rough.
Yeah.
All right. So, your childhood, man. You know, explain to us about that, man. You know, like how that was.
You know what I want to say? Even though I grew up in what they consider to be a rough neighborhood,
Yeah.
I had a great childhood. I had
You
a great support
childhood?
system, great family. Grew up, 75th in Vermont.
Yeah.
So I grew up in kind of a rough neighborhood, but the gangs in our neighborhood was a little different.
Okay.
If you was involved in sports, you were doing something with yourself, they supported you.
Okay.
They made sure you stayed out of trouble.
Okay. So the movies ain't, you know what I'm saying? That's, all that a lie in it.
Like I said, the one movie I could tell, or two movies I could tell people to watch that will actually give you a good depiction of what life was,
Yeah.
would be Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society.
Okay.
We were really like
What
that.
the
That's
two
how we
movies?
grew up. Yeah, that's how we grew up. Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood was literally based on me and my boys growing up.
Yeah.
They filmed it at our high school. The football highlights are us actually in high school playing.
Yeah.
So we actually grew up that way.
Okay.
Dang, that's what's up, man. I watched that movie, man.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was a
so-
movie, man.
Great movie, man.
Oh yeah. So it was. I mean, we had a good time. We had our rough moments, but like I said, like the movie Friday said, we also had a lot of good times.
Yeah.
Facts.
Okay.
That's one thing I do say about that's a misconception of growing up in the hood like that. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of good times in the
Yes.
in the environment. You
Oh,
know,
yes.
on the outside looking in, you look at the environment like it's real bad, but it's some goodness in there.
Oh yeah.
You know
Oh
what
yeah.
I'm
A lot of good people.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of good people.
Fact.
Okay. So Charles, man, so explain to the people, man, what got you into sports, man? Like what made you wanted to, start liking sports all of a sudden?
For one, like I said, growing up where I grew up, you pretty much had two options. You can either join a game or you can join your own type of game, join a team, sports team.
Yeah.
My mom got me involved in sports early. So I started off with baseball.
Started out with baseball.
Yeah, so baseball was my first love. I played baseball
Yeah.
for years. Jackie Robinson Field.
Oh,
that's where I
So
played.
you actually played baseball at Jackie Robinson?
Oh yeah,
Field?
oh yeah.
Man.
Jesse Owens Parks, that was another spot that I
Yeah.
played. Used to see like Venus and Serena on the
Yeah.
tennis courts as little girls.
Oh man,
Hit
that's
the tennis
cool.
ball, stuff like that. Yeah, that was the neighborhood I grew up in. Like I said, we had a lot of talent, a lot of good things going on.
So
out
you
there.
can say you guys had a lot of stars,
Oh
around.
yeah, I grew up
Okay.
with the stars. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was the best thing about growing up in LA.
Yeah.
Everybody had a little something going on. And then just getting involved in those sports. And then when I decided I wanted to play football, that was like my love. Playing street ball, throw up, tackle, things like that. And
Yeah.
finally getting signed up for organized football, playing for Inglewood.
Let me ask you this right here, Charles. So, you know what I'm saying, when you said throw it up tackle, I want to make sure that, the audience understand what you're saying. So explain that game right there. You said that was one of the first games you started to play,
That was
right?
your basics of football right there. You had
Yeah.
one person with a ball, they throw that ball up.
Whoever catch it.
Whoever catch it, you gotta go because everybody else is coming to get you.
Everybody
Yeah,
I
trying
don't
to
care
get
if that's 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 13, 15
Facts.
people.
All right.
You got your one person versus everybody else, and you got to get to that end zone.
So, nephew, have you ever experienced that, man?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, I'm from the side, man. Down
Yeah.
there. What we played, man. So throw a tackle, man, for real. Throw that
yeah.
ball up constantly, man. You get that ball. That's where you learn your moves and your jukes. You don't want to get tackled.
You don't want to get
That's
tackled.
where your
Exactly.
footwork come in.
We played on the street.
Yeah,
Yes.
y'all played on the
Yeah,
street.
Played
Yeah,
on the
so-
street, on the concrete, so you don't want to get tackled.
Yeah.
Right.
You
So
don't
where
wanna
I'm
get
from, we used to call it throw it up. Throw them up, light them up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's all
All
different
right,
names
so it's
for
all
it,
the
you
same
know,
thing.
yeah.
Okay.
Played
Okay.
in different.
All right.
places.
All right. So Charles, you can so from what I'm gathering right now, your well, I don't want to say streets. So your community actually taught you how to play football.
Yes. Oh yeah. I had older cousins. the guys up and down the street that were older than me, they saw the ability in me to play some football.
Yeah.
So they pushed that real hard once I started playing football. That was kind of like the thing. And then once I got started playing youth football, I had some great coaches. You know, when I look back at it, a lot of the guys I grew up with, we didn't have the father figures in our homes.
Yeah.
So your father figure was your coaches. You know, your coaches was that man that you went to, that coach that pushed you, that one that challenged you and made you do the things that were right.
All right, so sorry to cut you off, Charles. So what you're saying is right now, and I'm just trying to get a good understanding. So you saying back then when you was coming up in football, the coaches had multiple roles.
Yes.
They just didn't have the coaching.
Oh, no.
They had the father figures and just multiple roles, right?
Yes, oh yeah. You know, they made sure they looked out for you. You know, just getting to practice during those times was a danger.
Oh.
You know, riding the bus. We used to ride the bus in full uniform because when you got off the bus, you're going through different rival gang neighborhoods. You got to walk down a few blocks, so you want to keep that helmet on. Because if you didn't have that helmet on, somebody may snatch that helmet out your hand and take it from you.
Man, that's crazy, man. And I know from me being born in the 90s, dude, I to be honest with you, I can't honestly sit here and tell you that I experienced it. Like, you know, nephew, have you ever experienced something like that? What he's talking about?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I grew up in the city of Dallas, Texas, man. Where in the hood too. Not to the extent of Cali, you know what I'm saying, but to the extent, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, it was dangerous, you know what I'm saying. If you wasn't in sports or doing something of that nature, you was bounded to the streets. And like he alluded to, that if you were in sports, you was kind of protected because people looked at you as someone that can make it out.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So when they seen you had that potential and who you are, you were good.
Right.
They wanted you to thrive and make it out. So they looked out for you, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. That same type of experience, you know what I'm saying, being able to fight. I grew up in the same hood, so I really didn't have to face rivals until I went to school.
Yeah.
In my neighborhoods, it was so big, we all was all together like that. But yeah, man, like you said though, man, those sports though helped me get out of that situation.
Okay.
Oh yes.
It helped me to be somebody else.
All right, bet. So, you know, in my neighborhood as well, man, I'm not gonna lie, we wasn't as you know what you guys came up at, but one thing I can say is football saved my life, and it did save multiple kids' life. Yeah. So, Charles, do you feel the same way? Like football really saved your life, and if I mean, what would you be doing? You think
most definitely, John. Yeah. I mean, at the time when I was playing, especially when I got to high school, you know, we were a very popular high school.
So you play high school football as well?
Oh yeah. And I played at Crenshaw High, so we was a very.
So what position you played, man?
I played linebacker and fullback.
Okay.
So you know, and at that time, and still nowadays, you find a few players who still do it. I know. The Travis Hunter kid, running back popular. You know, back then he played both ways.
Yeah.
So I was one of those players who never left the field.
So you played both ways?
I played both ways. I played every special team. So when after we flipped that coin, I'm not off the field until the game is over.
So you was a dog.
So I played, nonstop.
Nonstop.
So
all right.
I didn't have that energy to go run the streets after a football game. But when that game was over, I was so tired, I needed to just go home. And my mother was rubbing cramps up my legs.
Yeah.
I was on the couch screaming. I got to have my mama rub cramps up my legs because I've been on the field all day.
All right.
So I never really had that extra time to run the streets. I never did those kind of things.
Yeah.
I was strictly sports.
So you just strictly sports?
Strictly sports.
So, nephew, let me ask you a question, man. Yeah. So was it the same way with you?
Versus... What was the question again? Like versus,
did football kind of save?
Oh yeah. Football definitely saved.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, football definitely saved my life. Man.
Yeah.
Stemming from that, the reason why I had to move from Dallas and end up in Nebraska is because I was getting in trouble. Got kicked out of school for the last time, and my mother sent me to Nebraska to live with my dad. So my biological dad, he just so happened to be living in Lincoln and not Omaha, which is good too.
Right.
Nothing against Omaha, but Lincoln was a smaller community.
Yeah, small town.
A little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think that was a blessing in disguise in itself. But yeah, it definitely saved my life, man, and I thank football for it,
Okay.
For real.
All right, cool. So Charles, so you mentioned that you played football in high school, right?
Yes.
So tell me about your career in high school, man. Like, what kind of stats you got, man?
I'm gonna be honest. You won't find too many people with the stats that I had in high school. I accomplished pretty much every goal you can think of.
Wow.
From my freshman year to my senior year,
Yeah.
I was the number one linebacker in
Number
California.
one?
Number one.
In California?
There was no number two. I was always number one.
Ooh, I heard that,
I
man.
made every
Dog.
all-city, all-state team.
Oh, that's what's up.
I played in the All-Star games. When I left the All-Star games, I was the MVP of the games.
Yeah.
I've been the MVP of every team that I've ever played on.
Okay.
From Little League, through high school, through college.
All right, through college. So what college did you end up going to?
Originally, I signed with UCLA.
UCLA?
Yep.
Okay.
I wanted to go to USC.
Yeah.
Visited USC.
Man, UFC was a... So did you get a chance to visit USC?
Oh, yeah. I went to on my visit, and that's what made me not want to go to USC.
So let me ask you this, Charles. So what year did you left high school?
I left high school in 90.
You left high school in 90. So when you visit that college, what year did you go to that college?
I went to USC in 87, 88,
87.
and 89.
So back then, when you went to go visit them, so UFC was a good.
It was it was
Okay.
a great
All right.
program. You know, going to visit the Heisman Room, things like that.
All
But
right.
the issue I had with USC is during my visit, we had a couple of gentlemen come and basically saw a bunch of black guys in an area,
Yeah.
and they ran us off.
Okay.
They ran us off. They didn't realize we were there part
And
of the
this was the
recruiting
year
class.
of, and this right here was the year of what?
This was 88.
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking, the reason why I'm trying to make sure the years, you know what I'm saying, I mean, that's in here is because I'm a 90 baby. So, you know, I was born in the 90s, so by like 96 is when I started really just paying attention to football, right? Okay, so I just want to break it down to, you know,
Well, you got to remember, USC's always been a powerhouse. USC,
USC
but
always been a
USC is
powerhouse.
also, we call it the University of South Central.
Dang.
Because it's right smack dab in South Central LA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know,
Okay.
we grew up on USC campus.
All right.
You know, our weekends, our time, free time, we spent at USC, not on the academic part of the campus, but they had a village.
Okay.
And it was right there, right in South Central LA. So that's where we went to the movies. That's where we went and got pizza. That's where you hung out. You know, that's where the museums were. Those are all little spots to hang out growing up. So
Okay.
we basically grew up at the Coliseum
Yeah.
at the USC campus as a kid.
Oh, wow.
So it was
Okay.
always a lot of kids growing up in LA. If you played sports, you wanted to go at USC
Okay.
because that was kind of like the school. You grew up on that campus anyway.
Okay.
That was
okay.
motivation then.
Now the problem at USC was we came across people who didn't want you there unless you had something to give to them.
So can you say that UFC was kind of living in the past?
Living in the past, but yeah, I mean, that was kind of my first time dealing with racism. Having someone actually just judge you by the look and not knowing your character and not knowing who you are.
So hold on right quick, Charles. So let me ask you this. You said that was your first time dealing with racism. And where was this college located in the South? Or was it
No,
This is South Central LA.
California.
in California
Yes,
and you
sir.
still experience
Oh yeah,
racism?
I mean, racism is everywhere. But just,
Wow.
and right there, that's when I learned, you know, people really
I
just
didn't know
want
that.
something out of you
Yeah.
and what you can do for them. And at that time, when the guy kicked us out, he
Yeah.
didn't know that we were there with the school to be future football players.
Right.
We found the Heisman Room that housed all the greats' jerseys. To us, growing up as football, we idolized the Ronnie Lotts,
Exactly.
Yeah.
you know, Marcus Allens, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
So when we saw their jerseys, we couldn't help but go and look. And when they saw us in there, they kicked us out.
Right.
About 2 hours later, the same gentleman realized that we were part of the recruiting class.
Right.
Now he had a completely different attitude towards us. You know, when he first met us, he didn't want us around.
Yeah.
He
Right.
thought we were just some thugs off the street.
Yeah.
He kicked us out the building. He later found out who we were. He came chasing us down.
Okay.
Wanted to apologize, wanted to know if we needed anything. Right then, I was turned off from USC.
Yeah.
UCLA, on the other hand, which we would have thought that would have been the spot where we would receive more
Yeah.
racism because of the location.
Right.
You know, they showed us so much love. They sent us to camps.
So the South wasn't the only one dealing with racism
Oh, no.
back in the day.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no. It's
Okay.
everywhere.
Okay. All right. All right, so nephew, let me ask you something, man.
Yeah.
So is your story kind of the same as Charles, or how was it? You know what I'm saying, when you was in high school playing ball, or did you play high school ball, or just kind of get the people.
Well, no, it's actually different. I didn't actually have all the stats and the accolades.
So you play high school ball in the South, right?
No.
Okay.
I played 1 year of football. My friends begged me to come out and play football in 8th grade. So I played 1 year then. I always played in the hood. I always played growing up. Everywhere I lived and where I stayed, football field was right outside my door.
Right.
And I always played tackle.
So you can understand, like, you actually, so that's amazing. So you actually learned how to play football from outside of your home.
Right outside my home. Literally right outside my doorstep. And I grew up in a big neighborhood, so we would play apartments against apartments,
Okay.
And then 1 year in 8th grade, a few of my friends, they played in 7th grade. I didn't play.
Yeah.
And then so they lost every game. And so
All
8th
right.
grade, they came out and they begged me to play. They said,
Yeah.
man, Sweet, come out and play, man. We need you to play. We need you.
We need your help.
Exactly.
Superman.
And so,
All right.
I went out and played running back, and we went undefeated.
Okay. So I
Oh.
ain't gonna lie, man. You look like a running back, bro.
I used to, and it's crazy because going into high school now, you see how I played in high school.
Yeah.
I actually didn't play my freshman and sophomore year because multitude of things. I was in the streets, I was gang, but I wasn't in no athletic mind like everybody else.
But you were also raised in a rough neighborhood, right?
Yeah. I
Okay.
never really looked up to athletes. I didn't see that around me. I used to flip. We used to have athletes around us, but my environment and my friends we just didn't gravitate to that as a collective. I had a few friends who did, but it was so engulfed with the gang culture and,
Right.
and the environment we was in
Okay.
that sports, the gang culture overweighed the
right.
athleticism. So, long story short, man, I didn't play 9th and 10th grade, and I played 1 year in my junior year, and I got a
Okay.
scholarship.
All right.
After that first year I played.
Nice.
All right,
That's
cool.
when I moved to Nebraska.
Okay, that's when you moved to Nebraska.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So, hey, Charles, let me ask you this right here. Nephew, I'll be right back with you.
Fact.
So, Charles, what college did you end up going to?
Ended up going, let's see, I was at UCLA. Things didn't work out for me. They actually wanted a bigger linebacker at the time.
Right.
So they ended up pulling my scholarship. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my academic scholarship
Yeah.
and stay at Cal State Northridge and just do academic work. Stayed there for the whole summer. I actually graduated from high school on a Thursday, moved into the college that Sunday. So I was on the college campus right after high school, had an apartment, had a per diem, living life, enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then I had another one of my close friends get killed. And I got a call on that Monday from my mother saying, well, you're moving to Nebraska on Friday.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, what's in Nebraska? Like, you're going to go to school there. You know, your high school coach went to school there. You're going to move to Nebraska. I had no clue anything about Nebraska.
Yeah.
Where Nebraska was, what the college was like, what the anything.
Totally foreign.
I was like, okay, I'll go. I got on the train, got to Lincoln. First place they took me was UNL's weight room.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the
Massive
campus.
and nice.
Massive, nice. They had just finished doing some renovations on it. They had me sitting in a little spot watching a film about Nebraska history.
Okay.
And I'm like, great. You know, the only issue I had was because of the way I grew up and where I grew up, Nebraska, as you know, is Big Red.
Yeah.
I grew up in an all blue neighborhood.
Yeah.
I never wore red.
So
once.
you can honestly say coming here to Nebraska was a whole, like,
Oh, it was a complete
different change for you.
complete change. And then I ran into Abdul Muhammad,
Yep.
who was playing in Nebraska.
Okay, yeah.
He had just came in himself.
Oh, okay.
Can
We
you say
were-
that name a little louder?
Abdul Muhammad.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We were actually bitter rivals through high school.
Yeah, because he's from there. Everybody
Yeah.
knows him as.
And he was,
And
and
he
he
know
was
about the
real
gang
good.
culture and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So, nephew, you know him too, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I heard
Okay.
Abdul Muhammad back when I was coming in, and the people around here knew about him. They knew him from coming from the West Coast, and coming from that environment as well.
Yeah, great.
He
Yes.
here today down in Omaha. He's doing great things for
So
the
he's
youth and
still
the
here
kids.
in Nebraska?
Yeah, he has a team, a football team,
Yes.
and he helps kids and train kids as well. So
But,
Wow,
but
okay.
at that time, he did not want us both in the same room.
yeah,
Huh.
We just did not get along. It was a football thing, you know.
Yeah.
He
It
had
was
some,
just that football mentality.
yeah, he had
Football
some games
ego.
where he
I'm
had
better
some great
than you.
moments
Okay.
against us, and then he had some moments where he mistakenly came across my middle, and I had to put it
Okay.
on him, and ended up giving him a hip pointer one year, his
Yeah.
senior year, and it put their chances of winning the championship. They lost,
right.
and they ended up losing to our rivals, Dorsey, in
Yeah.
the championship because he couldn't play, and a few other players couldn't play,
Right.
Because we beat them up, but they beat us in the game. They were
Oh,
real
wow.
good. Yeah, they beat us in the game.
So they ended up winning the game.
Yeah, but they had to play Dorsey the next week in the
Yeah.
championship, and they were so beat up from playing us that Dorsey whooped them and won the
Okay.
championship.
Okay.
And that kind of made the bond between us because Crenshaw and Dorsey were bitter rivals back then.
Yeah.
Actually, the last game I've ever played against Dorsey, I was actually shot off the football field.
And Dorsey is where?
That's also in South Central.
Okay, South.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So our last game playing them my senior year, we were literally shot off the field after halftime.
Okay.
So we never got to finish that game because of the game violence, and we were coming back in the game.
Right.
They were winning. Next thing you know, you hear pop, 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 pop.
So this was college, right?
This is high school.
High school.
This
Okay.
is high school.
High
This is
school.
for-
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I ended up, like I said, I ended up coming out here because I had a friend who had died. My mom called, said you're moving to Nebraska.
And where you end up coming to? What part of
I
Nebraska?
ended up first place I came was here.
Yeah,
Got
well,
the
what-
UNL.
Where's here? Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay.
I'm on Lincoln's campus. I'm touring the campus. I'm watching
So
the
did
video.
you go to the Huskers?
Well, they picked me up from the airport. They heard I was coming.
Oh,
They had
okay.
reached out to me while I was in college
Yeah.
in California.
Okay.
They had got permission to come and recruit me, this and that. I really didn't know
Yeah.
anything about it, so
Yeah.
I really didn't. But
You
when my
didn't
mother
really
called
like
me
it.
and told me I was going to Nebraska,
Yeah.
I assumed I was going to UNL.
Oh. Okay.
I was planning to go to the college where my best friend Wayne was at, which turned out to be Concordia College in Seward, Nebraska.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm at UNL. Concordia shows up
And you
and
said,
lets
what's the
UNL.
name of that college again?
Concordia.
Concordia.
College.
Okay,
yes.
so look, let me say this right here. As I said in the beginning of this video, I'm a 90s baby. I didn't know nothing about Nebraska. I didn't know that
Yes.
Nebraska had a
Same.
college or anything until I met Nephew over here.
Uh-huh.
So, Nephew, was Nebraska the Huskers football team? Was it a good football team back in the 90s?
oh yeah. I most definitely. I got
Yeah.
a similar story. I didn't know it and realize it even when I got offered to Nebraska.
Hold on, so you got an offer to Nebraska?
Yeah. So I ended up going to Nebraska. I got my offer when I told you I played there 1 year in junior.
So you went to Nebraska? in
Yeah,
this-
I actually went to the
Wow.
University of
Okay.
Nebraska.
Okay.
And so at the time, I didn't know because of my knowledge of.
Yeah.
I didn't watch sports like that, and I had friends who knew. I had family who Unc, this is Unc. He knew about Nebraska even before I did. The
Right.
football team. I
Yeah.
knew of the state because I had family here. My grandparents, my dad, them lived here, so I knew.
So
the
you
state.
had family here?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I did
so
not
that's how
know-
you knew about the state of
Yeah,
Nebraska?
yeah.
Okay.
But I did not know the magnitude of the football team. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they went 94, 95 back-to-back champion.
You said 94 and 95?
back-to-back national
Back-to-back.
championship.
Man, dude, back in the
Against
90s when it was very freaking hard
Yeah,
to go back to back.
Back-to-back.
It
Nebraska?
was a different style of football back
Exactly.
then.
A different style of
Different
football.
style of
Yep.
football back then.
Yeah.
Dang it. So Sweet, what year did you play in Nebraska?
97, which we
97.
also won a national
Okay.
championship.
Y'all won national championship?
Yep, as a true freshman came in, true freshman started and played as a true freshman. I was the second player to on defense to start as a true freshman in the history of Nebraska,
Hold
next
on,
to Ralph
man.
Brown.
Hold on right
And
quick.
my partner Joe Walker.
So
Walker
you
also
mean to tell
on
me,
defense.
you mean to tell me, and I'm sorry to cut you off, that you started as a freshman
Yeah, man.
on
as
a
freshman.
dominated team?
We're only playing 2 years of high school football.
That's great.
Man, man, you a freak of nature,
Only
man.
playing 3 years of football ever.
Yeah.
That's nice.
3 years only now football. But like I say, man, I literally y'all talking about throwing football and all that.
Yeah.
I literally played football since the day I started playing football, and since I was 5, 6 years old.
When you learn how to
Without
walk.
pads. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
we was hitting. I got raw scars. I got times when my face is scarred up. I done been hitting, flying in the air like a helicopter. I done been, this without pads. You know what I'm saying?
So football was a different thing back then.
Yeah, man, for real, man. You know what I'm saying? It was tough, rough, and all that.
Okay.
And check this out. It always was. It was older people as well. So you know, it ain't no age.
Yes, it wasn't no age.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You
So-
played
Wasn't
against
no
grown
age.
man.
Exactly.
You may be an elementary school,
School,
player,
they was a high school kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
Oh, yeah.
so what you
Yeah.
guys saying is, back in the day, when if you picked that football up, you got hit from all
yeah,
type of
man.
people.
Oh, yeah.
Real.
All right.
And that's
All
not
right.
including the cars on the street that you're going to run into,
Yeah.
or the street light poles,
Yeah.
the power poles.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So Charles, man, let me ask you this, man. So explain to the people what brought you to Nebraska, and did you play football in a college here in Nebraska, or what?
I'm going to say my high school football coach went to college out here. He went to Concordia College. He used to tell us the stories about it all the time. Never knew if it was a big college, little college, whatever.
And Charles, can you tell me what year that was?
That was 1990.
1990.
1990.
Okay.
Now, when I got here, like I said, I was at UNL.
Right.
Concordia showed up and let UNL know, well, no, he's coming with us. He's supposed to be at our school. So I left with them thinking that Concordia was the same size and everything as the University of Nebraska.
Right.
When I got to the town, I found out it was like a town of about 4,500, 5,000 people.
So it was actually smaller, huh?
Smaller than my high school.
Oh
I
man.
had more people than my high school.
So how did you adapt to that, man?
That was the thing. My high school coach sent me here because he knew I could adapt. I had been to football camps. I had been to other places. My best friend Wayne was here already. He was, he went through summer camp. So when I got here, I thought the college campus was the football facility.
Right.
Turns out that was the whole campus.
That was the whole campus.
That was the whole campus. Then when I got out to the football field, I'm looking at the players practice, and to be honest, I noticed, everybody has on helmets, they got on equipment.
Right.
You can always see those calves and the legs.
Right. Right.
I'm looking at the legs, and I'm not seeing any legs that match mine.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, wait a minute.
So you was a pretty, sorry to cut you off, but you was sound like to me you was a pretty built up guy. You was stocky.
They were waiting for me. They wanted me to change their program. My best friend and I, Wayne, when we got there, we were the only two black guys on campus. When we
Y'all
got
was the
there.
only two black guys
On the whole campus.
up here in Nebraska.
Yes.
Wow.
So which means we're the only two black guys on the football team.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got there, they expected me to do a little bit of everything.
A whole lot.
So as a freshman, I started on defense and offense. I had to play. So basically, I did the same thing I did in high school. I played nonstop. I ended up breaking their record for freshman touchdowns in the season. I broke their record for overall tackles in the season as a freshman. I ended up being the MVP of the team and the defensive player of the year my freshman year. So
you ended up playing football all through college, huh?
yes, and my thing was I wasn't going to stay there because it was such a small school. I was going to give them 1 year and then go back to UCLA and play at UCLA.
Okay, so did you ever go back or you just stayed there?
No, I had such a good freshman year
Yeah.
and ended up getting so many accolades my first year. Plus, it was just a different lifestyle. I have to say, it was,
So what you mean by a different lifestyle? Was it like back home or was it like?
No, it wasn't like
different?
back home. It was different.
Yeah.
So was it a more peaceful?
It was definitely. Oh yeah, you didn't have to worry about watching the cars as they drive down by the street.
Right.
So
To be honest, when I first got here and I got there, I couldn't sleep.
So nephew, was it the same thing when you came down here as well?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
came up here as well.
Yeah, like you say, you didn't have to worry about the car driving slow. You had to look and worry.
Yeah,
When I first got here, though,
It's natural, it's in you.
I was
so you
looking
still,
like,
you
"Damn,
still,
why you gotta do that?" And here
yeah.
they did it a lot, and it was
Yes.
like, "Damn, what are they doing?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They tripping because you're used to that. But like you say, it's a different environment, man. You coming from an inner city or a bigger city. You know what I'm saying? You coming to a small rural country, more country type feel town. It's very different. You know what I'm saying? Culturally and all that.
So back then, when you guys came down here, and hey, any one of you guys can answer this question. So back then, when you guys came to Nebraska, it was more of a peaceful environment and more of a country environment.
Both.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause it was peaceful and country. I was in a little small town.
Okay.
So you gotta remember, I mean, I'm talking about a town where no one locks their doors.
Yeah.
When it's cold outside, they don't turn off their car. They leave their car running and go into the store to shop.
Yeah.
And just leave it running. Where I'm from, you leave a car running like that.
it's
That
like-
car's not
It's
gonna
gone.
be
It's
there
gone.
when you come back out.
So nephew, what about you, man? So what about Nebraska? Since you went to college in Nebraska, was Nebraska a peaceful community?
Yeah, you're there. Yeah, it was. My bad. At the time,
Good.
at the university, the recruitment of athletes, were black, multicultural, you know what I'm saying, athletes. So that's where you seen a lot of your African American people and coming from different cities because they were all athletes coming from different places.
Come from different places.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the town, it was smaller and different where I came from. Like I came prior to that, and the school I went to, Lincoln Northeast, was more like I always referred to Saved by the Bell. If y'all seen the show Saved by the Bell,
Yeah.
For me, if you know where I came from, high school, I went to school with a lot of blacks and Hispanics.
Yeah.
So when I came to Northeast, when it was majority white, and
Right.
we had few blacks, few Hispanics, that's a culture shock, you know what I'm saying, for me. You know what I'm saying? And so I had to adapt to that and adjust to that. And that adaptation helped me to thrive and to stay focused, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it was cool. It was cool.
Okay. All right.
Definitely
all
a
right.
difference.
There's a difference. Okay, so Charles, so you ended up shining in college, right?
Yeah, I mean, my high school team and my high school coach, they pushed us to a certain level.
Right.
That when I got to college and when I got to Concordia, it just kind of came easy after that.
Mm-hmm.
I already knew what I needed to do. I had the talent to be on the field. It actually kind of hurt me a little bit because I got a little lazy because it did come a little easy for me. I'm a freshman. I'm starting both ways. I'm breaking records each week, things that they hadn't seen done on the field, that was normal for us to do being from where we grew up.
Right.
But coming to this smaller school, it was just, I kind of took advantage of it. And that's why I did not transfer out because I should have transferred out after my freshman year, went on to a bigger college to challenge myself.
Yeah.
I stayed somewhere where I knew I'm already on top.
All right. So let me ask you this, Charles. And so after your college career, did you try out for the NFL, or did you get a letter to go to the NFL, or how did it go?
What worked out was we had a very talented punter on our team, one of those Suka boys.
Yeah.
He got an offer to go and try out for the Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings.
So we went along with them. They had heard about me,
Yeah.
so they gave me a go-ahead basically to come out and try
Basically
out,
try
and
out
work
for the
out.
team.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And things were actually working out great for me. The first 2 weeks, I worked my way up pretty much up the depth chart where it got to the point where they were going to sign me.
Yeah.
Then I tore my ankle again.
Ah, man.
And it was a
that
matter of either
sucks.
have the surgery, and then when you're not that top athlete coming in,
Yeah.
you're not, they don't
I
have
get
that.
you.
They don't have that time to invest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get you.
So it was like, you can go do this, and then you can come back. And
So you came on
I
as
just
a
kind
walk-on.
of gave it up. Pretty much a walk
Pretty
on.
much as a
and
walk-on.
Yes.
All right.
So I got my good 2 weeks in. It was a great experience.
All right.
Um,
So you did 2 weeks in the NFL.
2 weeks, and they
right.
really didn't know where to play me. I was a little too short for them at the time for linebacker, but I did great as a blocking fullback.
Okay.
So they had me working at fullback. I was doing great.
All right.
And then
All
once
right.
that ankle got, it was over.
Okay, so hey, nephew, let me ask you this question right here, man. So you just told me that you was a freshman starting in the Nebraska Huskers. Man, show the chains on your neck, man.
Oh yeah, man.
Show that chains on your neck.
That's in the brass,
All right.
man.
All right, so look,
Black shirt.
black shirt. So look, I know you got that chain on your neck, and from what you just told me that you stood out. So did you get a chance in the NFL too as well, or explain to the people?
Well, I got a shot
Yeah.
to play in the NFL. I went undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
I was one thing about it, I wasn't even looking for none of that. You know,
Right.
like I said, y'all just heard my story. I only played a few years in organized before I even made it to where
Yeah,
I was
as a
at.
youth.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
more in the survival mode. You know, stemming out my environment. So I wasn't even thinking about the NFL or whether or not I could make it.
Right.
What I did know was that I was going to compete against whoever was in front of me.
Right.
And so, yeah, I did get a shot. I went undrafted free agent to the Green Bay Packers. I ended up making the team. And
So you made the team for Green Bay?
yeah. So what it was,
Ooh.
my rookie year, I was on the practice squad for some parts of the season. Then they brought me up. At least if you get 3 games in the season,
Yeah.
it counts as a season. So
Right,
I ended up by the end of that season playing for at least 3 games, and so they credited me a year.
Okay.
But I was doing so well, and a lot of people were surprised that I didn't even make the team from the rip. You know,
Yeah,
being
because you
exactly-
came on as a walk-on.
but I was handling my business to the point to where my second season, everybody knew at the beginning of the season that I was automatically going to be on the team.
Right.
And I was. I didn't get the phone call or nothing. Everybody knew it. You know what I'm saying?
So you one of those guys, huh?
Yeah, man. But, you know, it's
Down,
hard.
down.
Like he alluded to, when you're not the top guy or you're coming in. You know, I was an undrafted free agent, so
So you really had to work for what you
yeah, man.
Yeah.
They related to a totem pole. They literally do. And I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
when you that guy, you got to work hard, man. You got to work hard to be there. You got to make an impression. And I lasted 3 years.
That's impressive.
The
Yeah.
last year, I was on ER. I tore my shoulder. I could have went further, but it took
Yeah.
me 2 years to recover.
Yeah.
And Green Bay kept me on IR for a year and a half after that.
Nice.
So,
So-
man, that means that
Yeah.
so they kept you that.
Yeah.
I mean, for like that, man, they just go to show that
Yeah.
that they really looked up to you. So,
Yeah.
so guys, listen to me. I really got 2 NFL players sitting right here in front of me on Freedom Radio.
Yeah.
All right, so Charles, let me ask you this question. So after the NFL experience you had, what did you do after that?
You know what? I returned back here to Nebraska. You know what they call the good life.
So you came back
Now,
to
initially, I went back home. I went back to Cali.
So you did go back home.
Yeah, I
to
went
Cali.
back to Cali. I moved to San Diego. Went to the Super Bowl while I was out there, things like that. Green Bay was in the Super Bowl. you know, I was out
Yeah.
there for all that.
Yeah, because that's where Tyrone Williams from Nebraska,
Yeah,
they was in there.
yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
it was a good time, you know, and good experience. But then, you know, the hustle and bustle of California. After being in Nebraska for so many years,
You just kind of fell in love.
yeah,
then,
you
huh?
fell in love with kind of that slower pace.
Okay.
You know, and you don't want to have to deal. I call it like,
And you felt that peace being down.
that's
there.
what I was like to say. That
Okay.
unnecessary stress.
Right.
What I call unnecessary stress is constantly having to watch your back of this car coming down the
Yeah.
street. Nebraska, people actually waved at you. People greeted you. You know, you driving down the road, somebody gonna lift a finger like, "Hey."
So it was different than
It
where
was
you
completely
came from.
different. You know, so I stayed out home for a little bit, but I ended up coming back.
Okay.
And fell basically in love with Nebraska, the
All right.
lifestyle, the people, how things were, and then growing up when you're constantly watching your back, you constantly see so many people, you know, die over the years,
Right,
all
right.
the negative, this and that. You want
Right.
to be around something positive,
Right.
you know. And
Okay.
if I'm gonna raise my kids, I want to raise them in a positive environment.
A safe environment.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you know, yeah, my kids, you know, so my kids have all grown up here in the Midwest. Now,
Okay.
they know about Cali, they know about the
Right.
West Coast, we visit, things like that.
Right.
But this is where I can let them hop on their bike and ride down the street.
Okay, so you feel safe here.
Yes.
All right, so Charles, let me ask you something now. Okay, so you played high school ball back in Cali. You played college ball up in Nebraska. And you just said that you wanted to stay here because you felt safe here.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing now in Nebraska?
Now, basically, I'll try to take those values and those things that I grew up with and kind of pass it on to the next generation.
Hold on, so you're saying that you're a coach here?
Yes.
How,
So-
man, Charles, hold on, man. Man, how long you been coaching?
Oh, boy. I've been coaching here in Lincoln since 98.
Charles, man, hold on,
Yeah,
bro,
since
hold on,
98.
hold on, Charles, hold on. You've been coaching here in Nebraska ever since 1998.
Oh, yes. I actually started with a former Husker,
Yeah.
Vershawn Jackson.
Oh yeah.
VJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did the
Oh, VJ.
the NFL, the NFA Academy.
Yeah.
Started off there, working with those boys. It just kind of grew from there. I just never left the game.
So you just never left the game.
Never
So you
left the
fell in
game.
love with coaching.
I fell in love with coaching, but I also fell in love with having that bond with the kids, and not just on the field, it's off the field too. You know, one of my greatest things to this day is pulling up to a business or pulling up to a drive-through or going somewhere and coming across a former player.
Yeah.
You know, I just had it happen yesterday. I pulled in like, hey, you remember you coached me back? And I'm like, yeah, I remember. I was looking at you back there doing your thing.
Yeah.
You're looking good.
Okay.
You know, and that's the thing you do it for. You know, it's not about, because everyone's not going to make it to the pros.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's not going to continue even through high school. But it's that relationship and that bond you build with them, you know, when they're little kids.
So you
And they
wanted to be
remember
that impact
Yeah.
in the community here in Lincoln,
Basically,
Nebraska.
the way some of the men were in my life growing up. I had some real positive coaches growing up they're not just your coaches, they got on you. They made sure your grades were right.
Right.
So I do the same thing here. Kids know. I'll
So
show
you like
up.
that father figure in the coaching, right?
And that's kind of part of coaching. And that's one of the things you have to accept when you take on that job as a coach. You have to realize that it goes beyond the field.
Right.
You know, you have
Right.
kids today, and even kids during my time, you deal with a lot of other things
Yeah.
outside of football.
So can you break down what's the other things you had to do outside of coaching to make sure those kids, they stayed in the community of football?
Making sure the kids know that they can always reach out to you, that you're always going to be there, football or not, football season or not.
So what you saying? The kids had access to reach out to you.
Yes, they always knew where to get a hold of me.
Other than football.
And it wasn't just the kids, the parents too. You know, we have single moms out there, you know, and we're take over that role as kind of that father figure.
So you can say that you really was inspiration to the community, right?
I try. That's
try.
that's kind of like
Okay.
the goal. Try. You know,
All right.
I've had kids who've run away from home, so I'll spend 3 or 4 days late at night on the street,
Right.
driving around looking for them.
Man, hold on, Charles. Hold on right
that
quick,
is-
man. I never
powerful.
ever heard of a coach that says after football practice, you honestly rolled around to go catch those kids
Oh,
that
yeah.
was running away from home
Oh, yeah.
to be a father figure to them.
Just to make sure, let them know that they have somebody that's there for them, somebody that's going to support them, and whatever they're going through, they're not the only ones that ever go through it.
That's
You
a
know?
blessing, Charles.
So, you
that's
know,
a blessing.
so that's kind of really the only reason why I kind of still do it. I love the game of sports. I love football. I love teaching what I call my old school type football teachings. But the main thing is that bond you get with the kids.
Yeah.
That relationship you build with the kids. To this day, I got
you got
200-300
kids calling you all the
kids
time, huh?
that know that any time they can always call coach. They can always reach out. So my Facebook is full of kids from 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago that I've coached that are reaching out to let me know, hey, I'm getting married. Hey, I just started this business. Hey, I'm doing this.
That's good.
Or, hey, coach, I'm going through this. I'm having a hard time with this. You know, can I stop by? Yeah, swing on by.
So
Come on, let's
Charles,
cook
you've been
out.
knowing these kids since they was. So you've been knowing these kids since they was actually kids. Huh?
Kids, 5, 6, 7 year old, yeah, because I coach flag football.
So how long you been coaching?
Oh, I've been coaching. I mean, I moved out here in 90.
Yeah,
When I got here in 90, I started working with kids
right.
while I was in school.
So you've been coaching ever since then,
Ever since
all the
then.
way up to 2025.
Yes. So I have kids I have players, former players who have families,
Yeah.
graduates from college. Some have went pro. You know, I've had kids who've done it all. And I have kids who struggle that I still talk to today that they're in their 20s, you know, that, you know, I still work with them.
All right.
that's
So,
magnificent, man.
so
That's
nephew, I want to
magnificent.
ask you a question, nephew. So after your NFL experience,
Yeah.
so what you end up doing after that? Did you end up coming back to Nebraska, or you went back home, or what?
I went back home.
Yeah.
I was back and forth. I stayed in a multitude of places.
Yeah.
Georgia, here. But I trained in Texas and stuff for a little bit.
Yeah.
Kept training kids. I had to refocus because for me, when I left league and the way I did it, I couldn't watch football no more. I couldn't even partake in football,
Right.
for a while. It took me a while to even get back to even watching.
So can you explain to the people, like, you know what, man? I'm glad you said that because I'm a football player as well.
Yeah.
And I went to college as well to play football, but it took me a long time to actually sit down and wanted to watch the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So can you explain to the people what made you
I think, Zach, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think, when you go your life and you see this as something that you work hard for and you only spend so many amount of time in it, so much amount of time to when you go reach it. Now you make it, right? Like you say, he made it for a couple of weeks, I made it for a few years. There's guys who made it 10 plus, 5 and more beyond.
Right.
Which when you come in this game, you want to have longevity in the sport. And when you go out for an injury, just like Charles did and I myself, when the injury takes you away from that, it kind of affects you differently because you know what you could have done and how you could have been if it wasn't a result of an injury. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So Nefry, do you coach football as well?
Yeah, I coach football today.
You coach football?
I actually coach alongside Coach Charles right here.
So hold on. So you coach right beside Coach Charles?
Yep, and you as well, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So
yeah.
Nefry, how long you been coaching?
I've been coaching now here in Nebraska for a few years.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
going on my 4th year.
Yeah.
Great coach.
I've been happy and grateful to be out with guys who already been in this game, coaching.
So do you do any training as well? Okay.
Do training, especially in DB training skill sets, into becoming a great corner. Defense is what I specialize in. Cornerbacks is what I specialize in. Speed, agility, also weightlifting and stuff of that nature too. But yeah, man, coaching and everything right now, it helps you because, like I say, I didn't grow up with coaches who have went to the league or had won the national championship or had accolades and records in school who coached me.
So can I ask you this question right here, nephew? So did you grow up with coaches like that wanted to give back? Like such as Charles right now, he's saying that he wanted to give back and he wanted to be a father figure. So did you have that experience?
I didn't necessarily have that experience,
but
there were coaches like that in a sense, but I don't think it's as prevalent as today. To have a man like Coach Charles around to be able to go get these kids, like he say, there's kids that's run away from home and he's out there going and looking for them. It's hard to find. It's hard to find coaches that really truly care to that extent. And we need that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I got a brother-in-law who's like that. He's coaches in Virginia Beach and he coaches like that. And I know coaches that are like that too as well. But we need more, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we need more.
To have that. Yeah.
So, Charles, let me ask you this question right here, Charles. So, were you getting paid to go out, and catch these runaway kids and be a father figure to
You do this
them?
out the kindness of your heart.
Wait a minute. So, Charles, you were doing this out the kindness of your heart. No money or nothing. No gas money or nothing.
No. And the kids know I'll give them the shirt off my back if needed. So no.
Charles, hold on, man. I gotta pause you right there, man, because, man, look. Even when I was playing football in the 90s, man, I never ever experienced a coach to come out to your house to see what's going on. So you're sitting here today telling me that you was that guy to go out and reach out to those players, non-football related.
Oh yeah, I know. Because there's a lot more than just football, Kids deal with a lot more, and kids deal with a lot within the family dynamic right now. And sometimes they just need that other person. I let them know, hey, if I need to come up to you, I let parents know, hey, let me know how he's doing in school. Because if he's doing bad in a certain class, I know enough teachers, we can get him help. I can show up to the school. I'll pop up to the school with 2 pizzas at lunchtime and pull that player aside and the other kids aside, and we'll get it figured out. Kids getting bullied, we're gonna get that figured out. We
Charles,
don't deal with that.
That's crazy, man. I never heard of a coach that did that, and I'm from the South.
And see, to me, that's just a natural thing to do.
Yeah.
I've seen it done, and I know there's other people out there that do it.
Exactly.
So, I'm just doing what I can to do my part.
Yeah.
And, we're talking about the kids, so, you do whatever you can for the kids, your own and others.
Man, Charles, that really mean a lot to me, man. And like my grandmama used to say, man, it take a village to raise kids, man. And
that's something that we need to get more back into. Other people know you can affect a child's life. I can tell you right now, there's several kids out there who are just still struggling, who all they need is that one person to give them a kind word, help them out.
Right.
Let them know that you're there to support them. No
Okay.
matter what they do, that you're going to be there for them. So, my kids that I've coached, they'll let you know, I know I can call. I get calls now from kids that we've just coached recently.
to this day,
To this day, they're like, "Hey, Coach Jenkins, hey, what you doing? Hey, I'm hungry." I'm all like, "Yeah, all right. Well, I got some stuff in the backyard."
and
you
you'll
can come
still
do."
reach out to them kids,
Oh,
man,
yes.
for help.
Oh yes.
So nephew, let me ask you this, man. So, from my understanding, you end up coaching with Coach Charles, right? And so, what's your experience coaching right beside Coach Charles?
Oh man, good man, great coach. You know what I'm saying? And right away you can tell his chemistry and how the kids respond to him is so natural, and and that's important because you need to get a response out of a kid if you're coaching them. And a lot of times a kid won't respond to you if they don't like your coaching style or if they don't like who you are as a coach. You can't get a lot out of that kid. And
Right.
you can tell right away Coach Shaw's been around these kids for a long time.
Yeah.
And he knows what he's doing because he knows how to get it out the kid. And that's very important. And I had a great time coaching with Coach Charles, man. And I wanted him to be a part of our coaching staff and who we had, as well as you, knowing you as a person. You was our offensive line, our lineman coach. And Coach
Okay.
Charles was our linebacker and running back coach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, and to see you guys and the way you guys respond to the kids and how you get what you get out the kid, man, that's a true coach.
Okay.
And paying attention to detail, that's a difference. When a coach can easily go say this and do that, but if you don't reassure it, you don't pay attention to the small things and the detailed things, then a lot of times you ain't doing coaching. You know what I'm saying? And
You're right.
this man been around a long time, and you can immediately see that I was great to be alongside him coaching
Yeah.
because he has a lot more experience than me in that.
Right.
And
Well,
Right.
let me touch on that though. I try to express to them kids how lucky they are to have a man like this out there
Right.
with them on that field. You talking about someone who literally just told you he only played a couple of years in high school and got to one of the best colleges out there to play some football. Got out there as a freshman and played his butt off and started off in national
Man,
championship.
that is crazy.
Man made it to an NFL pro team and played there for some years. You know how many people dream, me included, to have been there for just that amount of time? This man did it at one of the highest levels and did it, and he did it with the work, dedication.
Yeah.
So, when I talk to kids now, the kids that we work with, I'm like, you guys realize who you got on the field with you?
Right.
I remember being at the park and walking by some people and he walked by like, do y'all know who that is? Because this man deserves the respect he needs to get because of what he's accomplished.
Man, like my granddaddy used to say, man, all hail to the king, man.
Yes.
And look, when I say that, I'm just being honest. I have to the problem is today is we don't give, and it's not just a color thing, we don't give men the proper, you get what I'm saying?
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying, man?
Yeah.
So
What they
Charles,
call it, giving people their flowers.
Their
give people
things
their
like
flowers,
that.
man. No matter what color they
Yes,
is,
yes.
we know what I'm saying. We don't give people their flowers, man, until they pass on
Yes.
to the next life.
Yes.
So Charles, in closing remarks, I want you to give me advice to the kids that gonna be watching this interview, man.
Believe in yourself. Set your goal, set your mind to it, and believe you can achieve it. I had my high school coach, he always used to drill on us, if you believe it, you can achieve it. I have that on a glass that I got back in the 80s.
Yeah.
from a coach. And on it says, you know, if you believe it, you can achieve it. If you
Right.
believe in yourself, you will reach your goals. Set your goals and believe you can do them. It won't always be easy.
Right.
But just keep on working towards that goal. I'm still working towards goals myself. You know?
So
I'm
goals
in
don't
I'm
stop,
in my
no matter how
50s
old
right
you
now,
are.
and I'm still working my way towards
Right.
more goals to be a better man each and every day.
Okay, so sweet. So nephew, what advice you give to the kids, man, in closing?
Rebutting off that, man, facts of that, believe in yourself, man. Work hard. Understand you got to work harder than the next. Sometimes hard work beats talent, you know what I'm saying? And that's been going on a lot these days.
Yeah.
If you go around and you work hard and you give it your best, have a great understanding, and understand whatever sports you in, you know, you got to take it serious nowadays.
Right.
Because it's a sport, you think you play it, but it's really not for play.
Right.
You really want to take it serious because that sport can prepare you and it can set up your future. You know, not just in that sport, you know, college, it can land you jobs. You can,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
By, you know, having certain accolades in the sport can land you a certain job title just because what your accomplishments and your achievements were and what you did, you know.
Right.
And so just keep working hard and believe in yourself, you know what I'm saying, and make it happen, you know what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. So, hey, guys, this is Freedom Radio.
All day,
hey, guys,
man.
can I get a hand clap?
All
man, for
day,
the gifts
man.
we got?
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Love you, brother, man. Always a pleasure to have you, man,
Yes,
for real.
always.
Man.
Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. And, hey, guys, look, man, look for more videos with Charles and nephew, man. And I just want to give a big shout-out to you two guys, man, because you two guys have made a way for the young generation today. And hey, guys, I am so proud of you guys, man. Like, dude, that is amazing what you guys got going. But hey, guys, tune in to the next video. This is Freedom Radio, and we out.
Already.
All right.